Hey folks, welcome back to Legacy of Old Age. What if something as simple as the way you drink water could help you live to 100, keeping you strong and spry well into your golden years? For us old-timers, staying healthy as we age is a dream we hold close, and today I've got a story that might just show us how a little glass of water can go a long way. How seniors should drink water to live to 100. That's what we're diving into, with tales that'll warm your heart, open your eyes, and give you a few tricks from the old days to keep you going for years to come. Stick with me, because I've got stories that'll make you smile, think, and maybe even reach for a glass of water right now. In the miles ahead, you'll hear about a sweet widow who swears by her morning glass, a proud farmer who learned the hard way about going without, a spunky gal with a clever twist on her water, and a straight talk from my own pop that showed me what the experts have known for years. So grab a cup of coffee or maybe a tall glass of water and settle in, folks. This road's got some turns worth taking. It all started a few summers back when I stopped by Mrs. Mabel's place down in Tennessee. She lived in a little clapboard house off a dirt road, the kind with a sagging porch and a garden out back that'd make your mouth water, tomatoes red as a barn, beans climbing high on their poles. Mabel was 82, with a laugh that'd warm you up faster than a July sun, and a knack for baking pies that'd win any county fair. I'd known her for years. She'd been a school teacher, raised 3 kids on her own after her husband passed, and always had a kind word for everyone. That day, when I knocked on her screen door with a jar of my mama's peach preserves, I found her sitting on her porch, sipping a glass of water, her grandkids playing in the yard, her eyes sparkling with joy. "Mabel," I said, setting the jar down on her checkered tablecloth, "you're looking fit as a fiddle at 82. What's your secret?" The air smelled of cinnamon and fresh-cut grass, and her old tabby cat, Whiskers, was curled up at her feet, purring softly. She chuckled, a sound like wind chimes on a breezy day, and held up her glass. "It's this, sun water, plain and simple," she said, her voice full of warmth. "I drink a glass first thing every morning, another before supper, and I keep a pitcher on the table all day. Keeps me feeling good, inside and out." I sat down, watching her take a slow sip, and she told me her story. Mabel had always been careful about her water. She'd drink 6 or 7 glasses a day, sometimes with a slice of lemon from her tree, and she swore it kept her joints from aching, her mind sharp, and her energy up. "I've been doing it since I was a girl," she said, smiling. "And look at me now, still here, still baking pies, still chasing these grandkids around." I sat there, folks, feeling a warmth spread through me. Mabel was living proof of something the experts have been saying for years. She's 82, but you'd never guess it. Her step is steady, her hands don't shake, and her heart's as strong as ever. I started thinking about what makes water so special for us old-timers, and I dug into what the folks at the National Institute on Aging have been studying. They say as seniors are more likely to get dehydrated. That's when you don't have enough water in your body, because we don't feel thirsty as much as we used to. That can lead to all sorts of trouble, like infections in your waterworks, hard stools that won't budge, even memory problems. But drinking enough water, about 6 to 8 glasses a day, depending on your size and health, keeps your kidneys working right, your blood flowing smooth, and your whole body humming along. Mabel's been doing it right all these years, and it's no wonder she's still going strong, with a spark that makes you think she just might blow out 100 candles someday. Ever known an old-timer who swears by their water to keep 'em spry, folks? Or maybe you've got a story about how a little hydration made a big difference. Drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear your tales. That day with Mabel got me thinking about how something as simple as water can help us live long and strong, but I knew her story was just the beginning. And I had to dig deeper to see what happens when we don't get enough and how we can do better. Mabel's story left me feeling warm as a summer breeze. Folks, that image of her sipping her morning glass of water, her grandkids playing in the yard, showed me how something as simple as staying hydrated can keep us old-timers going strong, maybe even to 100. But it got me wondering what happens when we don't get enough water, when we let ourselves dry out like a field in a drought. I'd seen Mabel thrive with her steady habit, but I knew not everyone's so careful, and I needed to understand the other side of this coin, what it means when we don't drink enough, and how it can take a toll on our years. That's when I heard about Mr. Hank down in Georgia, a proud man who learned the hard way about the cost of going without, teaching me a lesson I'll never forget. Hank lived on a small farm just outside Macon, the kind of place where the air smells of hay and honeysuckle, and the fields stretch out like a patchwork quilt under the summer sun. He was 76, built like a barn door, even after all those years, with a laugh that'd shake the leaves off a tree when you could get him to laugh, that is. Hank had been a farmer his whole life, raised hogs, grew peanuts, and could fix a tractor blindfolded with nothing but a wrench and a prayer. He was a regular at the local diner once, always at the counter with a cup of black coffee, swapping stories with the other old-timers about the good old days. But that spring, when I stopped by his place to drop off a sack of pecans I'd picked up for him, he loved them in his pies. I found him sitting on his porch, looking pale as a ghost, his hands trembling as he tried to stand. "Hank," I said, setting the pecans down on a rickety table, "you don't look right. You feeling okay?" The air smelled of fresh-cut grass and a hint of rain on the horizon, and his old hound, Rusty, was snoring in the shade like a freight train. He shook his head, his voice weak as a whisper, and said, "I've been off. Son can't seem to get my strength back." I helped him to a chair, my stomach twisting, and he told me his story. Hank had never been one for drinking water. He'd stick to coffee in the morning, maybe a soda in the afternoon, and figured that was enough. "I didn't think I needed much," he said, his eyes tired. "But a few weeks back, I started feeling dizzy. My head hurt something fierce, and I couldn't keep nothing down. Ended up in the doc's office, and he said I was dried out like a corn husk in August. I sat there, folks, feeling a chill run down my spine. Hank had been dehydrated, and it had taken a toll on him in ways I hadn't expected. The doc told him he'd been running low on water for too long. His body couldn't keep up, and it led to a bad infection in his waterworks, something the doc called a UTI, that landed him in bed for a week. I was so weak, I couldn't even feed the hogs," he said, his voice cracking. "And the doc said it could have been worse, could have messed with my kidneys, or even my head, if I'd let it go on." I reached out, put a hand on his shoulder, and promised we'd get him back on track. I wasn't about to let Hank fade away over something as simple as a glass of water. Ever known an old-timer who got sick from not drinking enough, folks? Or maybe you felt that dryness yourself, that dizzy spell that sneaks up on you. Drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear your stories. That day with Hank broke my heart, but it lit a fire in me to learn more about what happens when us old-timers don't get enough water, and how it can stand in the way of living long and strong. I started digging, and the experts have some hard truths to share. The folks at the National Institute on Aging say us seniors are more likely to get dehydrated because we don't feel thirsty like we used to. Our bodies just don't send the signal as strong. That can lead to all sorts of trouble, like infections in your waterworks, hard stools that won't budge, even memory problems that make it hard to think straight. A study from the Journal of the American Geriatric Society in 2022 looked at over 11,000 folks over 65 and found that those who are dehydrated you can tell by things like dry lips, dark pee, or feeling dizzy, had a 15% higher chance of passing early, and they were 20% more likely to have chronic troubles like diabetes or heart issues compared to those who kept their water up. But there's hope, folks, and Hank's story didn't end there. I got him to start drinking water just a glass in the morning, another with supper, working his way up to 6 a day, and you should have seen the difference. Within a month, his color was back, his hands stopped shaking, and he was out feeding the hogs again, whistling like he used to. There's a trick from the old days with a modern spin to help us through. Back when I was a kid, we'd say a good farmer waters his crops before they wilt. And now, the experts say keep a glass of water handy, aim for 6 to 8 glasses a day, depending on your size, and watch for signs you're running low, like dry lips or feeling dizzy. If you're not sure, check your pee. It should be pale like straw, not dark like molasses. Hank's lesson from going without wasn't the end of what I'd learned, and it got me wondering how others make their water a little more special to keep it up and live long. Hank's story left a heavy weight on my chest. Folks like a sack of feed I couldn't put down. His struggle with dehydration showed me how easy it is for us old-timers to let our water slip, and how much it can cost us if we do. It got me wondering how others make their water a little more special to keep it up and live long, finding ways to drink that don't just keep them healthy, but make it a joy to do. I'd seen Mabel thrive with her steady habit, felt Hank's pain when he went without, and I couldn't help but hope there was a brighter side to this tale, a story of someone who'd found a clever way to make water a part of their day. That's when I heard about Miss Betty, a spunky gal from Alabama who's got a few tricks up her sleeve, showing me that a little creativity can go a long way in keeping us hydrated and strong. Miss Betty lived in a tidy little bungalow on the edge of Montgomery, the kind of place where the front yard's always blooming with azaleas and the mailboxes painted with sunflowers she did herself. She was 74, with a laugh like a wind chime, and a knack for knitting scarves so soft you'd swear they were made of clouds. Betty was a firecracker. She'd been a nurse during the Korean War, raised 4 boys on her own, and could still outdance anyone at the church social, even with her bad hip. I'd known her for years, always seeing her at the county fair with her famous lemon squares, the kind that'd make your mouth pucker and your heart sing. That fall, when I stopped by her booth to pick up a square, I could tell she was in high spirits. Her eyes sparkled like the morning dew, and she had a pitcher of water on the table, bright with slices of lemon and a sprig of mint. "Betty," I said, brushing crumbs off my shirt, "you're looking spry as ever at 74. What's in that pitcher keeping you so lively?" She laughed, bright as a bell, and motioned me to sit on a bench nearby, the air thick with the smell of cotton candy and hay. "It's my special water, honey," she said, her voice full of warmth. "I make it a treat, so I never forget to drink." I leaned in, watching her pour a glass, the lemon slices bobbing like little suns, and she told me her story. Betty had always loved her water, but she found plain water a bit dull. So she started adding a slice of lemon from her tree out back, or a sprig of mint from her garden. "It makes it taste like a little party," she said, her grin wide. "I drink a glass first thing in the morning, another with lunch, and one before supper keeps me feeling fresh as a daisy. Sometimes she'd brew a cup of chamomile tea, no sugar, just the flowers, and sip it warm in the evening, saying it helped her sleep like a baby." I sat there, folks, feeling my heart lift. Betty wasn't just drinking water. She was making it a joy, and you could see it in every step she took. At 74, she had the energy of someone 20 years younger, her hands steady as she knitted, her mind sharp as a tack, and her spirit brighter than a summer day. I couldn't help but think of what the experts have been saying about how we drink our water, and how a little creativity can make all the difference. The folks at the National Institute on Aging say as old-timers should aim for 6 to 8 glasses a day, about a gallon for most folks, depending on your size and health. But it don't have to be plain. Adding a slice of lemon or a sprig of mint, like Betty does, can make it taste better without adding sugar, and the lemon even gives you a bit of vitamin C to keep your immune system strong. A study from the blue zones, those places like Sardinia and Okinawa, where folks live past 100, found that many of them drink water with a twist, like herbal teas made from chamomile or rosemary, which can help with digestion, calm your nerves, and keep inflammation down. They say chamomile tea, like Betty's evening cup, can lower your risk of heart trouble by 10%, thanks to its calming effects. Ever known an old-timer who's got a special way with their water, folks? Or maybe you've got a trick to make drinking more fun. Drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear your stories. That day with Betty taught me a trick from the old days with a modern spin. Back when I was a kid, we'd say a good cook adds a pinch of spice to make the meal sing. And now the experts say make your water a treat, add a slice of lemon, a sprig of mint, or brew a cup of chamomile tea to sip in the evening. It ain't just about the taste. It's about making sure you drink enough to keep your body humming along. The blue zones folks say drinking water at the right times helps. 2 a glass first thing in the morning wakes up your insides. Another before meals helps you digest. And a warm cup at night can send you off to sleep like a lullaby. Betty's clever tricks warmed my heart like a sunny afternoon. Folks seeing her make her water a little special with lemon and chamomile showed me how a bit of creativity can keep us old-timers over 70 sipping our way to better health, maybe even to 100. But it got me wondering how much water we really need to keep us on the road to 100, and what the experts have to say about getting it just right. I'd seen Mabel thrive with her steady habit, felt Hank's pain when he went without, learned from Betty's special twists, but I still didn't have the full picture. The kind of straight talk that'd help us understand how much water we should be drinking, and why it matters so much for our years ahead. That's when I turned to my own pop, a man who'd been wondering about his own health lately, and a talk with a health expert that gave me the clarity I'd been chasing. Pop lived in that same little house outside Springfield, Missouri, where the blackberry bushes still grew wild and the porch creaked under every step. He was 83, with a voice that growled like an old diesel engine and a laugh that'd make you forget your troubles. Pop had always been a big man, round as a barrel, with a belly that had earned him the nickname Big Hank, down at the diner, but he'd started slowing down lately, and it had him thinking about his health. That evening, when I found him on the porch, rocking in his chair with a mug of coffee in hand, the air smelling of wood smoke and the last of the summer flowers, he looked at me with a furrowed brow. "I've been wondering, son," he said, his voice softer than usual. "All this talk about water, am I getting enough? I don't want to dry out like Hank did, but I don't know how much I need to keep me going. You think it'll help me make it to 100? I sat there, folks, feeling a pang in my chest. Pop had always been a rock, and hearing him worry about his health tugged at my heart. I'd promised Mabel, Hank, and Betty I'd find answers, and now I had to keep that promise for Pop too. I called up a health expert I knew, a doctor named Clara, who'd been studying aging at a big university in Boston, and set up a meeting at the community center. Clara was a warm woman, 60, with a smile that put you at ease and a notebook full of studies she'd been poring over for years. When we sat down in a quiet room, the smell of fresh coffee in the air. I got right to the point. "Clara," I said, "Pop wants to know how much water he should be drinking to keep him strong, maybe even to 100. What's the right amount, and why is it so important for us old-timers?" Clara smiled, nodding like she'd heard this question 1,000 times. "Water's like oil for your body's engine, Hank," she said, her voice steady as a preacher's. "For us seniors, it's even more important, because our bodies don't hold on to it as well as they used to." She pulled out her notebook, flipping to a page of numbers, and broke it down. "The National Institute on Aging says folks over 70 should aim for about 6 to 8 glasses a day. That's around a gallon, depending on your size and health. If you're a bigger fella like you, Pop, you might need closer to 8. But it's not just about the amount, it's about keeping it steady, so your body don't run dry." She tapped her pen on the table, adding, "A study from the Journal of the American Geriatric Society in 2022 looked at over 11,000 folks over 65 and found that those who kept their water up, you can tell by things like pale pee, not dark, had a 15% lower chance of passing early, and they were 20% less likely to have chronic troubles like diabetes or heart issues. Water keeps your kidneys working, your blood flowing, even your brain sharp. It's like a little miracle in every glass." I sat there, folks, the hum of the community center's chatter in the background, and let that sink in. Pop shifted in his chair, his big hands wrapped around his mug, and said, "So you're saying a few glasses a day might keep me around longer?" Clara laughed, her eyes twinkling, and said, "That's right, Hank, but you've got to do it right." She leaned forward, ticking off on her fingers. "First, spread it out a glass when you wake up, another with each meal, and one before bed. That keeps your body steady, so you don't dry out. Second, make it easy, keep a pitcher on the table, like Mabel does, or carry a bottle if you're out and about. And third, listen to your body if you're feeling dizzy, your lips are dry, or your pee's dark like molasses. You're not getting enough, so drink up." Pop nodded, a grin spreading across his face, and said, "Guess I'll swap out some of this coffee for water, might even try Betty's lemon trick." I couldn't help but smile. Folks, that was Pop, always ready to give it a go. Ever had a day when a glass of water made you feel brand new, folks? Or maybe you've got a trick for keeping your water up as you get on in years. Drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear your take. That day with Clara taught me a trick from the old days with a modern spin. Back when I was a kid, we'd say a good farmer waters his crops before they wilt, and now the experts say keep your water steady, 6 to 8 glasses a day, spread out from morning to night. And watch for signs you're running low, so you can keep your body humming along. The folks in the blue zones, those places like Sardinia and Okinawa, where folks live past 100, do it too, sipping water all day to keep their insides clean and their hearts strong. Clara's words weren't the end of what I'd learned, and it got me thinking about how we can all put these pieces together to sip our way to 100, one glass at a time. Clara's straight talk in that community center was like a cool drink on a hot day. Folks, it refreshed my understanding of how something as simple as water can keep us old-timers over 70 going strong, maybe even to 100, if we do it right. I'd seen Mabel thrive with her steady habit, felt Hank's pain when he went without, learned from Betty's clever twists, and sat with Pop as he wondered about his health, only to find hope in the power of a good glass of water. Each story added a piece to the puzzle, and by the time I walked out of that center, the sun dipping low over Springfield, I knew the truth, how seniors should drink water to live to 100. It's not just about drinking. It's about drinking smart, so we can keep our bodies humming along for the years ahead. Let's roll it back and look at the road we've traveled, folks. There's Mabel, sweet as her Tennessee tomatoes, sitting on her porch with a glass of water in hand, her grandkids playing in the yard, as she told me at 82 that her steady sips keep her feeling good. I can still see her garden out back, those tomatoes red as a barn, and the way her hands stayed steady as she poured another glass. Then Hank, out by his Georgia barn, his big hands trembling as he told me how going without water nearly broke him, until he learned to drink up and got his strength back. I'll never forget the paleness in his face, the way he came alive again, whistling as he fed the hogs. Miss Betty, spunky as ever, filling her Alabama bungalow with the scent of lemon water and chamomile tea, her laugh bright as a wind chime at 74, as she made her water a treat. And Pop, my own big Hank, sitting on his Springfield porch with a coffee in hand, wondering about his years ahead, but finding hope in Clara's words, his grin wide as he swapped his coffee for a glass with a slice of lemon. I can still hear him say, "Guess I'll try Betty's lemon trick," a spark of determination in his eyes. They're all different, ain't they? Mabel's a widow with a heart of gold. Hank's a farmer who learned the hard way. Betty's a firecracker who danced circles around us all. And Pop's a stubborn old cuss who'd rather eat pie than worry about tomorrow. But they've all taught me one thing: drinking water the right way can keep us strong, maybe even carry us to 100, if we make it a part of our day. I got to thinking, if they can sip their way to better health, so can we, and I'll be darned if I don't share what I've learned to help every old-timer out there live long and well in their golden years. So let's round up some tricks from the old days with a modern twist to keep us sipping smart, folks. First off, drink steady and spread it out back. When I was a kid, we'd say a good farmer waters his crops before they wilt, and now the experts say aim for 6 to 8 glasses a day, about a gallon, depending on your size, and spread them out from morning to night. The National Institute on Aging says that keeps your body steady, so you don't dry out, helping your kidneys work right, your blood flow smooth, and your brain sharp. They say a glass first thing in the morning wakes up your insides, another with each meal helps you digest, and one before bed keeps you balanced overnight. A study from the Journal of the American Geriatric Society in 2022 found that folks over 65 who kept their water up, you can tell by pale pee, not dark, had a 15% lower chance of passing early. And they were 20% less likely to have chronic troubles like diabetes or heart issues. Second, make your water a treat, just like Betty does. Back in the day, we'd say a good cook adds a pinch of spice to make the meal sing. And now the experts say add a slice of lemon, a sprig of mint, or brew a cup of chamomile tea to sip in the evening. The folks in the blue zones, those places like Sardinia and Okinawa, where folks live past 100, do it too, sipping water with a twist of lemon or herbal teas like chamomile, which can lower your risk of heart trouble by 10%, thanks to its calming effects. They say the lemon gives you a bit of vitamin C to keep your immune system strong, and the taste makes you want to drink more, so you don't forget. If you're not a fan of plain water, try a warm cup of tea at night, no sugar, just the herbs to help you sleep like a baby, keeping your body rested and ready for the years ahead. And here's the best trick of all. Folks, listen to your body and don't let yourself dry out. Pop's talk with Clara showed me how important it is to pay attention. Back when I was young, we'd say a good farmer knows when his crops need a drink, and now the experts say watch for signs you're running low. Dry lips, feeling dizzy, or pee that's dark like molasses means you're not getting enough, so drink up. The National Institute on Aging says us old-timers don't feel thirsty like we used to, so we've got to be extra careful, especially on hot days or if we're under the weather. They say keeping a pitcher on the table, like Mabel does, or carrying a bottle when you're out, makes it easy to sip all day, so you can keep your body humming along, maybe even to 100. What's your trick for keeping your water up, folks? Ever found a way to make it a habit that keeps you feeling good? Drop it in the comments. Your stories are the gold here, and they might just help someone else. Hit that like button if these tales hit home. Smash subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss what's next. There's more wisdom waiting just around the bend. Share this with a friend who'd get a kick out of it. Let's keep the conversation going and keep our bodies strong. I've got more stories to share, so stick with me. We're not done yet.